Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of The Messenger. If you have not joined me before, my name is Shawn Thompson. I am a spiritual counselor and psychic medium. I have been doing this work for over 20 plus years, and I absolutely love it. Um, for those of you that have watched me, you know that I love to marry psychology, spirituality, metaphysics, and take the best of the best insights and wisdom and information from my spiritual counseling sessions and mediumship readings and share them with you through the messenger. Let's jump into today's topic, which is all about learning how to hold the space for someone and what that means. I get asked that question so often. What does it mean to hold the space for someone? And so I thought I would do a little share here on the messenger and give you a personal experience that I had this week where someone actually held the space for me. And it was so amazing and so powerful, and I really needed it. I spend every day when I do my sessions holding the space for other people. And I am human just like you, and I have meltdowns and I have situations where the mind drama just sends me deep into the rabbit hole of my emotions. And this week that happened. And I needed someone to hold the space for me, and someone did, who is very dear to my heart. And it was so powerful and it was so needed that I'm going to give you some insight. So when it's your turn to hold the space for someone, whether you know them or not, you will be able to do it successfully, and you'll be able to really help them come back to their center and know that you cared. So the concept of holding space is really the ability to create a safe, supportive, and non-judgmental space where another one can be fully emotionally, physically, and mentally vulnerable in that moment that they're sharing with you or that they're processing. Okay. And so this is very different than listening to another person's problem or situation or drama story. Okay. You're not really looking for the moment to interject anything when they take a breath or when they're doing the ugly cry or when they're not saying anything. You're really staying quiet in that moment. And I'm going to explain the value in that and how to do that here in a minute. Okay. But the basis of it is that you want to allow them to let you walk beside them. Okay. So it's like walking alongside another person in whatever their journey they're on without judging them, without making them feel inadequate, without trying to fix the problem or trying to impact the outcome. Okay, so when you hold the space for another person, you're actually opening your heart. You're offering unconditional support, and so that they can let go of that judgment and that control that they're placing upon themselves or that you might feel the need to place upon them. Okay, so let's jump into some of the areas that I think are really important about learning how to hold the space. So, when would you hold the space for someone? Okay, there are a lot of opportunities that are going to come up for you to hold the space for another person who's going through something such as a significant life transition. This could include marriage, divorce, new job, new child, um, or an illness diagnosis, loss of a loved one. Okay, so any unexpected hardship or any type of loss. The same goes for someone who's feeling emotionally triggered or under a lot of stress. So these are some areas that uh, would require you to offer or to hold the space for someone. So let's talk about how you would prepare yourself to hold the space, because there is actually a method that you want to prepare yourself to be able to offer so that you don't get caught up in your ego or your left brain of trying to fix the problem or trying to be um, part of the solution for that. Your solution is to just hold the space. That's what you're offering to them. That's what's needed. but there are a few things that you want to do in order to prepare yourself to be able to do that. So you want to get grounded, okay, so that you can be the anchor. So envision yourself as a tree and you're rooting yourself down into the ground so that no matter what storm hits you, what story they tell you, what emotion comes up for them, you are not going to fall over. You're going to be grounded like a tree is grounded into the root system of the earth. You're going to hold that strength, okay, so that when the storm comes towards you, you can just sway with it. The other thing is you want to shine your light as bright as possible. Okay, so that light is filled with unconditional love and support. And what it does is it kind of sets you like a lighthouse, so that pretend that they're the boat in this stormy sea, and the boat is looking for the lighthouse to know that they're going to be okay, and they head towards that lighthouse. So your light wants to be shown as bright as possible so that they have a direction to go. Okay, and the other thing you want to do to prepare yourself before you hold the space for someone is be and remain present in the conversation. So you don't want to be multitasking or get pulled into another direction when you're trying to be present with them. Now, you might say, well, what happens if someone just calls out of the blue, or you're walking down the road and you see somebody who really needs your help? You don't have time to do all of these preparations. Well, you actually do. So when you're doing your regular meditation practice, and if you don't do it, you definitely should do it for at least 5 minutes a day, because you will use those techniques for yourself and throughout the day for other people. But when you're in your meditative practice daily, you can practice these things for yourself. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, how to hold the space for yourself. But you can practice these things for yourself, getting grounded, making your vibration and your light shine bright, especially through gratitude exercises, and also learning to be present with yourself and your own thoughts, so that when something happens spontaneously, or you're thrown into a situation where you definitely need to hold the space for someone, you automatically know how to do it. Your body just goes into holding the space mode without you even thinking about it. So these are definitely some things that you can practice on a daily basis to prepare you for when you do need it on the fly. Now, let's talk a little bit about how to hold the space. Okay, so there are 3 steps that I want to share with you on how to actively hold the space for someone. So the first one is going to be to ask if they would like to talk. Okay, so not everybody likes to talk about their feelings or wants to share what's going on with them, but you would definitely be able to recognize when they need to talk or if something's going on, and you can ask them if they would like to talk. If you're like me, I know when I need to talk. I know when I need to process something, and I will reach out to people that I respect and that I know how to hold the space, and I will say, I need to process this issue that came up, or can I share something with you because I'm really struggling and I need to get grounded and centered. Okay, but not everybody is willing to ask for help or willing to receive it. But if you see somebody struggling, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to ask them if they'd like to talk. And so just gently ask the person if they would like to share what they're going through. Okay, tell them that you are here only to solely listen and provide a space for them to express themselves if they choose to do so. Okay, so you're kind of setting that boundary, and you're letting them know what you're prepared to offer them. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to interject your thoughts into it. And just remember, you can't always assume that they're going to want to talk about their feelings. So this is going to be a really important and pivotal moment for you to respect their emotional space. But once they do say that they do want to talk, then the gates open for you. The next thing that you'll want to do is you're really going to want to listen without judgment. So this requires the skill of active listening, which is a lot different than just listening to someone, as I mentioned earlier. Okay. This involves immersing yourself in their emotional experience, okay, emphasizing with them and allowing space for whatever thoughts and feelings may come up just to be. This is not when you may feel called to say, you're so strong or everything's going to be okay. I'm going to touch on that here in a second. What this is just for you to listen so that they can get it up and out of themselves in a safe space without feeling like they need to defend or explain or feel like they're going to be judged. So remember when I talked about preparing yourself where you shine your light like a lighthouse, or you root yourself into the ground like a tree? When you do those two things, that's when they know that they are strong and that everything's going to be okay, because they're going to work their way towards your strength and your light as the saving grace until they can come back to balance. So a lot of my clients will say, I'm so tired of hearing people say you're so strong or everything's going to be okay, because sometimes they just don't want to be strong anymore. Okay. Or they really can't see that it's going to be okay. And so telling them one or two things like that, it sets them back. It makes them feel like they're not heard. So, but what you can do is you can be the tree. You can be their strength until they want to be strong again, or until they realize just how strong they are. You can shine your light the brightest way possible so that they can work their way towards that until their light can shine. Okay. So the last and final step that you want to do is you want to validate their emotions and their experience. Okay. Your first instinct maybe to formulate that perfect response, right? Or try to come up with a solution to the person's problems when they're talking because you want to help them. But instead, focusing on being fully present with them and validating their emotions and experience, even if you wouldn't feel, okay, the same way in that similar situation, that's going to help them know that whatever they're going through is their own thing to go through, and that whatever they're feeling is valued. Okay. So I want to interject something here that I feel is really important. And those are the benefits that come along with when you do hold the space for someone. Okay. Because we often don't really think of it helping, because one of the biggest struggles in holding the space is it feels like you're not doing anything, that you're not offering them a true value or a benefit, because really you're just sitting there being quiet. Okay. And so it can feel like you're not helping them, but there are some valuable benefits that come with holding the space for someone. And one of the biggest benefit is allowing them to be able to express themselves openly and authentically in order to process the emotions. That's powerful. You don't have to be a licensed counselor or a trained therapist or have been doing this for years to be able to offer that to someone. Okay, you're really not doing anything tangibly like outward, but what you are doing is so powerful for that person to be able to come back to center and tap into their own source of strength, that um, you, that it's important you know how powerful that is. So it also fosters self-exploration and growth. Okay. It increases that connection and emotional intimacy. It improves mental health and emotional health. And it elevates self-esteem and self-worth. And it really supports mindfulness. So if you look at all of those benefits that I just mentioned, by simply being strong, rooting yourself into the ground so that their turmoil around you doesn't break you, but they can be focused on the light that you're shining to come back to their own center. How could you not offer to hold the space for someone? There are so many benefits. Excuse me. There are so many benefits to what that simple act of unconditional support and kindness can do for someone that it's priceless in my opinion. So the last thing that I do want to talk about is how to hold the space for you, and then I'm going to share a little bit of the experience of how I felt when someone held the space for me this week. So, when you're holding the space for you, this looks like being open, accepting, and non judgmental about your own thoughts, feelings, and experience. And so, you're basically just doing the same thing for yourself as you would with anybody else that you're going to hold the space for. Okay. Acknowledging that you're human and that with that comes flaws, imperfections, and just not always knowing the answer. It doesn't matter how much schooling or experience you've had. We're all going to go through a situation where we just don't know the answer. And sometimes by processing it out loud, you can hear yourself talk and the answer unfolds intuitively and from your higher self in that respect. So you can do this through meditation as well, through journaling. Those are ways that you can hold the space for yourself, or really just giving yourself a good cry. Okay. So it's being real with yourself about what you're experiencing instead of being defensive or avoiding that tough stuff. You're actually diving deep into your world so that you can really tap into what you're needing in that moment. Okay. What I like to suggest is maybe setting 15 minutes aside every day for uninterrupted time to check in with yourself. This can be through taking a walk in nature, it can be through journaling, meditating, having a coffee gratitude moment in the morning when you're just thinking about your day before or what lies ahead. That's a great time to check in with yourself. So you'll want to check in with how you're feeling. Where do you feel it in your body? That's really important. And what do you need in that moment? Those are the questions that you want to ask yourself when you do a check in. For instance, if your body feels exhausted, then that might signal that you need to take some rest, right? You need some downtime, or maybe you need a vacation. We all need a vacation, right? So when you're checking in with yourself, remember that it involves tuning into your thoughts and feelings and letting them be rather than trying to push them away. You're really giving yourself your undivided attention to see what's going on with you. So again, you can do this through meditating and journaling. Just write down whatever comes to mind and don't judge your thoughts when they show up. So, as a wrap up to this, I want you to know when I went through this weekend or this week, I reached out for help. I knew that I had just had a hard conversation that really shocked me and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I fell down the rabbit hole of other things that were going on with me. And so it was like the perfect storm. So I reached out to my friend and he totally just held the space for me. He didn't fix it. He didn't offer solutions. He didn't side with me about the drama story that I was talking about. He just let me spin for a little bit. And when he showed me his strength to be able to be silent with me, when he shined his light bright so that I could feel safe and trusting that he really loved me no matter what hole I was down, no matter what story I was in, no matter how I felt about myself, I was able to pull from that light and that strength from him and bring it into me to be able to ground myself again and raise my vibration. And so after I got off the phone, I took care of myself. I did some self-care practices that day. And then I circled back around and I really expressed gratitude for that person holding the space for me. And I was really in gratitude because I don't have that very many people do that for me. I do it all the time for other people, but I'm pretty well centered the majority of the time, but I am human. And thank goodness I was strong enough to reach out and ask for help. And I did. And then to allow somebody to do that for me and receive it, and then to come back and appreciate it and acknowledge it, like this is what it's all made for. This is This is important. This is how you make a difference for yourself, for other people, and in the world. So I encourage you to write down any questions that you have about holding the space. Practice learning to hold the space for yourself in your own meditative practice so that when you are called to hold the space for someone else, you will feel confident and you will feel strong, and you will offer to be able to do that so that you can pay it forward when the time is called for. So again, thank you. I hope you have an amazing day. If you have not joined my Conversations Across the Veil Facebook private community, please do that. Make sure you like and follow my page and share this with someone who you think it would benefit. Thank you so much, and you have an amazing day.